Welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and I'm Kim Tolton, and today I am sharing with you a technique. There is an end result of a card, as you can see here, but really today is about the watercolour technique that I'm sharing with you. It uses two stamp sets. One is a background stamp, which is the watercolour wash, and the other is the birthday blooms stamp set, which is this one here. Hopefully you see that, which I have used a few times now. And this is the watercolour wash. It's a big stonking stamp, look, and gives a lovely watercolour effect. But I've kept the card really simple because I want to show you the actual technique. That's the main thing for today. Now, I've had lots of plays around because there's different colours that you can get combos. I've used the same three stamps, ink pads rather, which is Calypso Coral, Blushing Bride and So Saffron. But each one comes out different, and I'll explain why those differences happen. So here, this is quite a watery, washed out one. That one is incredibly intense, and this one I did with basic black. This one I did the outline of the stamp in soft suede, realised that just wasn't going to work, so that one got pushed to the side very quickly. The basic black works really well. So this is another version, very soft and gentle, but again a bit more intense in this one. And this one is actually on shimmery white cardstock, which is what we're using today. And that's on purpose because you can either use watercolour paper, you can use regular Whisper White cardstock, but it does warp a little bit more, and you can use shimmery Whisper White as well. That's the one I'm going to use when we've done the technique to finish the card, because it's obviously already dry. This one is a little bit more intense and the colours are a little bit more set out, and this one is incredibly intense. And it basically comes down to how you ink up the ink pad, how you ink up the stamp, and how much water you apply to the stamp will create a really varied effect. So each card is really quite unique. So my shimmery white one I've got here because we're going to use that to finish the card off. So those are some examples there. Right, so to make the card, as always, you want to make your card base, which is a piece of thicker Whisper White cardstock, trimmed to 21 centimetres by 14.8 centimetres. Score the long side down the middle at 10.5 centimetres. Have the ridge inside your card, and then get your bone folder and burnish that fold nicely. Now put that well away from where you're working, because if this gets contaminated by ink, it's fine if it's on the front and we're covering it, but if it gets on the back, it's pretty unsightly. Right, so what you first of all want to do is trim your mat and your main piece of cardstock. So your mat, I'm using Wild Wasabi, which is from the Subtles collection, and that measures 14.4 by 10.1 centimetres. This is for a regular A6 card. And then the shimmery white cardstock is 14 centimetres by 9.7 centimetres. There is a reason why I use centimetres, is because there's an increasingly amount of people in the UK who have never ever learned inches, and and so I'm kind of catering for them, and I'm not very good at converting because I grew up in the cusp where I learnt both and neither particularly well. Right, so the first thing that you're going to do, again, move that green cardstock so it is nice and safe and sound with your card base. The first thing to do is ink up your stamp, and I would say that the archival ink is the best ink. You could use basic grey or basic black. I'm using basic black because somehow it helps to intensify the image with that watercolour background. It's just personal choice really. So stamp that onto your cardstock first. Just like that, and then we're gonna start the technique. So if you've got this stamp and you've got it in wood mount, all well and good. I didn't. I bought it in clear mount. Part of me wishes I'd gone for the wood mount now, but it is, once you've got an acrylic block in your hand, it's a sizable weighty thing, but it is lovely, and you can use any or all parts of this on projects, which makes it great. So what we're going to do is use 3 ink pads, and we're going to start with the deepest colour in the middle, moving out to the more subtle colours in the outside. So we're starting with Calypso Coral. Now you are not using your ink pad parallel here, you are using it on the edge, so you're just dabbing bits in the middle here, and not all of it will be covered, and that is on purpose. You don't want all of it covered, okay? So just creating a haphazard on the cover on there. So that's your Calypso Coral. Then you're moving to, and I've got Calypso Coral back out, then you're moving to Blushing Bride, and you're going to do exactly the same thing, and now you are moving this outwards, so you're working in a circle kind of thing, and you're just bringing it out, the colour out another layer. Again, all I'm using is this one corner here, I'm not using more than that, okay? The ink pad, and then the final one is So Saffron. And this one you can now use flat as you would, and you're going to work your way all the way around that periphery, so all the way around the edges of that stamp, that watercolour wash stamp. You do get a bit of ink transfer up there, but I find as you use the stamp, as you use the ink pad, it soon comes away. Take the cap off of your aqua painter. If you haven't used aqua painters before, they are brilliant. You can use them to flick ink, to make splatter marks. You can use them for all kinds of watercolour and colouring techniques. I've just got this filled with water, and I'm going to randomly drop probably about 9 or 10 drops of water on here, maybe a little bit more. It depends on how intense you want those colours to be. And then I'm going to give it a bit of a shimmy. So give it a bit of a shake around, and that is going to help some of those colours to blend together. Not all of them, but most. Alright? And then you're going to take your piece of cardstock, ink side down, and you're going to place it on top of that stamp, get your bone folder, and then spread from the middle out, and the same in the opposite direction, and then just use a piece of tissue just to wipe any excess ink off of your fingers and bone folder. Same on the back of their peel that off, and look, we have another colour altogether. Straight away, just remove all of that watery ink off of there. Otherwise it will go everywhere. Trust me, been there, done that. You could, if you want, speed up the drying process by using a heat tool. You could blot any excess ink if you want, but I quite like it because it then has areas where the water pools. So some is more watery, you get watermarks around the edges of the ink as well. So I quite like it to dry of its own volition. Alright, so I'm going to put that to one side, out of trouble, so it can dry off, and we'll now crack on with finishing the card. So first job is to stamp your sentiment down here, and I'm going with, I think I will go with the For You, and I'm going to do basic black again, just in keeping. Now you will see that this has warped a little bit. It will warp a little bit, but you will find that it will quite quickly and easily flatten out once you're ready to mat it onto cardstock. There you go, there's your sentiment. Turn it over. I'm using a couple of strips of fast fuse. You could use tape and or tear and tape, or you could use Tombow. Do not use PVA glue, it will cause your cardstock to warp like nobody's business, and that is not a pretty effect. That goes down as so, and I've left a wider border around here just to bring the attention in to that central section there on this one, and then that just gets matte straight onto your card base here. And again, I'm using fast fuse, and you can then embellish this to your heart's content. I'm going to leave it, well actually, no, I'm going to leave it because it is shimmery. I don't know if you pick up on the camera. I'm going to zoom it right in, see if you can. I don't know if you can see how shimmery that shimmery cardstock is. Does that come over? You'll have to tell me. I won't see until I play it back, but that's it. So really quick technique today. Please, please, please share your make. So that will mean coming on board with my Pinterest community board. So just follow the board. Details are in the show more section under today's video. Once you like the board or start following the board, then I will ping you a invite, providing I can see that you are interested in Papercraft. You don't have to be incredibly active, but I do like to see that you're interested. And you're then welcome to start, once you accept, you're welcome to start pinning away on that board. And it's a great forum for everyone getting to know each other, sharing of ideas and inspiration. And it doesn't have to be your work. You know how Pinterest works. You can pin anybody's work, and it's all tracked through Pinterest anyway. So, but it's that sharing and coming together with ideas. So do that. You can also leave comments in the comment section underneath today's video. I love getting to know you all, so do leave those messages and I will reply as quickly as I can. And I'll see you again tomorrow for another tutorial. Thank you so much for watching today, and I can't wait to see what you do with this technique. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.